This is the Johnny Cleveland Podcast, all things Cleveland sports, with your host, John Suchan. Hey, good evening. It's the Johnny Cleveland Podcast, part of the Fanatical Elves Network and Fans First Sports. Thanks for watching us right now live on Facebook, YouTube, and the X. And we're also on TikTok. We're growing. We're growing our brand. We're 4 years into this, and I know it's gone by so quickly, but we really do appreciate you following along here on our Fanatical Elves Network. And it's a Monday. Good evening. It's a little bit after 9:23 to be exact. So we love you coming over here. Hey, if you're watching us right now, live on the YouTube or the X or whatever you want to call them, the Facebook, you'll see that there's a ticker running on the bottom of the screen here. And if you're listening to us later on Apple, Spotify, it's our sponsors. You can shout out to Hemisphere Coffee Roasters. They shake the hand of the farmer, and Sherry's Licorice. Sherry'sLicorice.com. Sherry's Licorice is located in Goshen, Ohio. Small mom and pop place there. We've got a great deal going right now. So if you go to Sherry'sLicorice.com and you go purchase some amazing licorice, they got all sorts of flavors. They got blue raspberry, cinnamon, cherry, strawberry. Awesome stuff. Go buy their licorice. Then at the end, when you're checking out, you can use the code ELVS Network. I'll try to pull it up here on the screen if you're watching us. ELVS Network, ELFZ Network 15. ELVS Network 15. When you put in that extra code, that coupon, and they will give you 15% off a $25 purchase at Sherry's Licorice. Just some great people there. Hemisphere Coffee Roasters as well. Just some great folks up there in Mechanicsburg, Ohio. We love them, and we appreciate their sponsorship here of the Johnny Cleveland Podcast and the Fanatical Elves Network. So, hey, the Brownies. Well, I got a lot to talk about tonight, so I'll try to make it as quick and as harmless as possible. Being a Browns fan is tough. We all know that. If you're a diehard like me, and you're one, if you're listening or watching this, you know that it can be just a very difficult thing. It's an experience like no other. And they had a game, first preseason game. If you haven't been hiding under a rock this season, we have a new head coach in Todd Monken. We have new players, new drafted players. We also have a quarterback competition that has a aging, injury-prone, over-the-hill Deshaun Watson, who hasn't been good since 2020, competing against an inspiring, up-and-coming, ceiling is pretty high, Shedeur Sanders. So they've been at this battle, this quarterback battle, for a while. And at this point, it sounds like the elder Deshaun Watson, is going to get the start when it comes to week 1 of the regular season. It's something we've all kind of been feeling is going to happen. Shedeur hasn't done enough to light it up to show that he could be better than Deshaun at this moment. Now, I just think it's absolutely horrible what the Browns are going to do with Deshaun Watson. I think if everything plays out the way that it sounds like it's going to be, they're going to let Deshaun start. I mean, Steve and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. And others of you have talked about this. It's just such a waste of time. And I've got a comment here from Kyle Brandt from the NFL Network, ESPN. He talked about, let's go with Shedeur. I'll share that quote here in a little bit. But Todd Monken gave Deshaun Watson the start in the first preseason game, and his numbers initially 11 for 12, but he didn't throw a pass he threw one pass of 15 yards. He had a quarterback rating of 98 something. When Shedeur came in the second half, of course, Shedeur is playing with third and fourth stringers. He goes 6 for 11. He's had a terrible interception. It was a bad pass. I'm not going to say that it's not. But again, Shedeur Sanders is getting better. Keeping in mind that this kid was thrown into the fire with 6 or 7 games left last season after having no really reps with the first teamers. Kevin Stefanski just threw him to the wolves. And he managed. He won 3 games for the Cleveland Browns last year. He lost 4. He can win football games. Some people out there, local and national folks, like to think that this kid some of you think that he's incompetent, that he can't play the position of quarterback, which is absolutely foolish to even discuss. No, he might not be the greatest quarterback of all time, but he certainly has the capability and has shown that he can play in the NFL. So the idea that this guy is a lifetime back, I'm not going to say that he's not going to be a backup down the line, but this kid needs to be given an opportunity. And the Browns are, again, I had an old colleague, Ethan Greenberg, if he's listening or watching later. I know he does his own show, Going Nuclear and whatnot, with his programming now. So, but he was talking about this whole fiasco right now with the quarterbacks. And he described it as a dog and pony show. It's basically just this thing that the Browns and Todd Monken are sort of presenting as a quarterback competition, but it really hasn't been. I mean, you're talking about the $200 million man in Deshaun Watson. We all know that. We all know that we're tied to this guy because we made a god awful decision, several years ago. Yeah, granted at the time there was a lot of mixed reviews and understanding of the situation, but we were coming out of Baker Mayfield and him being pissed off, and the Browns fans were divided, and we're still divided. Which it's a struggle. So we have this guy who the Browns owe. We all know that they owe this guy all this money in the world. Despite saying that ship has sailed a year ago, the owners and the Browns have decided to change their tune and want this guy to lead the way to victories. And Todd Monken talks about wins. That's all that matters. Well, folks, you and I know, I mean, if the Browns decide to go with Deshaun Watson, you may get maybe 1, maybe 2, at the very most, extra wins than maybe a Shedeur Sanders, just because of that what supposed veteran presence. I mean, look, Deshaun Watson hasn't been good since 2020. You're wasting time. The Browns, you are wasting time with starting Deshaun Watson in week 1. Simple. You are doing a bad thing. You want to take him on the road and to Jacksonville and Tampa Bay and start him, so be it. But for God's sakes, man, if he doesn't win at least one of those games or you go 0-2 coming back to Cleveland and you're going to start that guy at home at Cleveland, Huntington Bank Field, you want to talk about boo birds? We've already heard that they've already been booing him at practices. Our old colleague Noah Olson was talking about that also. Ridiculous. I mean, I don't know who I'm more ridiculous about. I mean, the fans are Deshaun. Look, Shedeur has not leaped that far ahead. I know Steve Gill, you talked a little bit in your show yesterday, Dog Pound South. Check his show out on Sundays. He talked about this is really an opportunity for Shedeur this week to really shine and to do everything that he can. Well, he's not going to get the first crack at, I think Buffalo comes in tomorrow with his mutual joint practices, and Deshaun gets his first opportunity, I think tomorrow with the first team, and then think Shedeur gets the opportunity on Wednesday, and they're going to split opportunities on Thursday. So it's just not. I mean, everyone's talking today about it. It just the writing is on the wall. I get that, but the writing on it's just bad. It's bad because Browns fans understand what's happening, and they're irritated. I'm irritated. You can tell that you're irritated if you're watching this, because we all know it's not a winnable situation. I think most Browns fans, including myself, would be shocked, completely shocked, if this team has a winning or 500 record based on what we're doing right now with the quarterback position. And then I haven't even started talking about the defense. um, One bright spot, our offense, our wide receivers, Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston, good stuff. Do we have a run game? We'll see. The Browns offense first unit only played, one or two, one series, I think. So there wasn't really a big opportunity. We'll see what happens this week when they have that mutual practice, joint practices with Buffalo, and then have the next preseason game Saturday down at the stadium with Shedeur starting that game. Thank God the fans at least get to see Shedeur start that game. Now, I even wrote in Dog Pound Daily, I gave props a little bit to Deshaun just for the simple reason that while I'm ripping him here, I do understand he's coming back from multiple ACL injury, not ACL, Achilles injury. So it is really something. And I know Todd Monken was glowing about that after the game. What a big deal it wasn't. Look, the kid's coming back. The old fella's coming back from a serious injuries. So it is something to take note of. So in that sense, I did say in my latest article that it is a positive for Deshaun. But for this team and moving forward, I don't know. Like Todd Monken, it's about wins. I know, and is he going to have a job after this season? Hell, I don't know. If you go out there and you win one or two games, I think the over under is 5.5. So we'll just have to wait and see. But getting back to the other parts of this, we do have a lot of young talent out there. Casey Concepcion got a touchdown, really good, caught a jet sweep handoff, took it to the right, took a tackle, stayed on his feet, and scored in the corner of the end zone. Really good thing there. Denzel Boston really looks legit. He's tall, lanky, good size. I'm anxious to see how much they use him. The running game was putrid. They didn't have a running game in the game on Saturday, which is again a big red flag for this Cleveland Browns team. And while we want to think that the Browns are going to have a better run game this season, so far after the first preseason game, it hasn't shown up. Hey, let's pause here for a quick commercial break. I still want to talk a little bit more about the Brownies. After this, we'll be right back. Hey, thanks for coming back. It's the Johnny Cleveland podcast. Again, I shout out to the sponsors, Hemisphere Coffee Roasters, Sherry's Licorice. Remember, use Elves Network 15 to get a discount at sherryslicorice.com. Had a start to our school year. Shout out to all those folks there at our school, Licking Heights. Good stuff. And shout out to all the folks that we work with there. And special shout out to Tyler. Tyler, if you're out there, shout out to you. I know you're listening. Not. So, also had a fun time. I've been doing these foodie reviews. If you haven't noticed, if you watch us on Facebook or whatnot, TikTok, follow us on TikTok. It's the Elves Network, and ran up to Mansfield on Saturday and ran over there to the Rancho Fiesta, where it was very festive. Great Mexican restaurant and good food, good service. Check them out. They're on the south side of Mansfield. I think it's off of Trimble Road. So we're doing these foodie reviews. I went to the fair a couple weeks ago, had a good time doing that. If you have a place that you think would be really cool to go check out, I'm thinking about doing like a hamburger run, right? I love a good hamburger. Most of you know that. And maybe I'll do a foodie review at some of the hamburger joints around the Columbus area. We'll start here in Columbus and see what we can get. But that might be what we're going to do here as we get into these foodie reviews. I appreciate the support. And again, if you have any suggestions, let us know. we were trying. There was one. My stepson Clay. He gave me these. I forget what they're called now. These rolls. We might put this one out. I did a video a week ago, but back in West Virginia, they would put these like rolls, and they would give the old timers when they were working in the coal mines down there, like a roll and like pepperoni sticks. So these like would be the Italians that lived down there in West Virginia. And so now they've combined the two, and they put the pepperoni sticks inside the dough of the roll, and you eat it just as like a snack. It was really good. Actually, I'd never done anything like that before, eating something like that before. So that was pretty cool. Okay, the Browns again did not look very good for a preseason game. I know Todd Monken, head coach, he's going to try to put a positive spin on things, and I know it's the first preseason game, but I think a lot of Browns fans walked away from that game on Saturday going, well, what exactly has changed that much? We're still in a quarterback competition. We still don't know what the hell we're doing on offense. We don't, our backups, our second, third, and fourth string players for the Browns are pathetic. So what have we improved on? It could be a long season. We're trying to be optimistic here. We are the most optimistic fan base. By the way, there was I forget, it was the Nielsen ratings or something came out recently today or over the weekend about, who has the best fan base. And they looked at all these different parts to being a fan, like just listening to the radio or listening to us on the podcast or buying apparel, all these things. And the Browns ended up number 10. All the AFC North teams actually ended up inside the top 10. Interestingly, which I totally don't agree with, and I think you as Browns fans understand this, they had Cincinnati, the Bungles, rated at number 4 or 5 overall. That's just pathetic. That's not true. If you're a Browns fan, you know that. Bungles fans aren't fans like Browns fans. We all know this. So that kind of irritated me. Um, so we'll see what happens on the next time they do these little scales and ratings and whatnot. All right. So on the defensive side of the ball, I did want to mention this kid, Michael Coates, undrafted rookie free agent who signed with the Browns. And interesting, like Steve Gill and I were talking about this, he mentioned to me, and I did go back and look at the contract. The Browns, they were quick to sign this kid from West Virginia, of the University of West Virginia. He signed with the Browns for a little over $3 million for 3 years. So they want to lock this kid up. I mean, a $1 million contract every year is pretty good, coming in as a rookie. So he did some good things in this game, this preseason game. He was back on the field today. He had a slight ankle injury during the game, but he was out back on the practice field today. He had an interception. He had a couple blocked passes. He knocked down some passes, and he had a couple tackles to go along with this. So he did some good things. The Browns really need some help at the cornerback position. One guy that there was an article that came out from some other periodical through Fansided, I think, or maybe Bleacher Report or one of those. Like I said, I write for Dog Pound Daily, and they had listed one player from every team that they thought would be tradable right now during this preseason time. The Browns player, to maybe no one's surprise, was Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback. Surprise, not really. For the Green Bay Packers, they have a cornerback that they thought could be on the market, and his name is Carrington Valentine. And go ahead and take a look at his stats, but he was a really solid, he's a rookie or coming off a rookie contract going into his last year of his rookie contract. And we know Andrew Berry likes those kind of deals. And the Packers would save about $3.7 million if they were to let this kid go. He was a pretty on and off again starter. He started 11 games last season for the Packers and has done some good things in his short career. I think he's coming into year 4. So, like I said, the Browns, behind Denzel Ward and Tyson Campbell, they don't have diddly squat right now. And you saw that in this game against the Bears where They had scores of 6 yards, 25 yards, and 49 yards through the air. The Browns have got serious issues in the secondary, especially at the corner positions. Now, like Steve Gilt mentioned, and I agree with this, my colleague, he talked about the safety position. We have a pretty good group of safeties. Ronnie Hickman, Grant Delpit, the new kid, Emmanuel McNeil Warren from Toledo. So those guys will definitely be on the field. And I feel better with knowing that those guys will be in there in some sort of package. But we still need some more support, some more depth at the corner position. So stay tuned for that. I imagine the Browns will be getting some extra players here before the season starts. So the Buffalo game is coming up. I did want to go back to a quote that the Kyle Brandt, I actually wrote it on paper. Look at this, folks. My dad, if you're watching or listening, you'll see that I actually wrote something out, like real handwriting. None of this AI stuff. Ugh, AI. Whew. Just you hear the word AI and it's like, ugh, stay away, right? But it makes things so much easier. So I shouldn't complain. I shouldn't worry. But it's just we've seen all these movies, over the years that, all this AI and the robots, iRobot, they take over. Shout out to Diet Coke. If it's Diet Coke, if Coca-Cola, you want to sponsor the show. All right. Kyle Brandt. He works for NFL Network, ESPN. I liked him. I think he's fair. He's always been kind of good when he talks about the Browns, and I think he's a realist, and I think he's a fan of kind of how he sees it the way the Browns fans see it. And he had this quote about Shador, and we talked about a little bit about this earlier, but I just want to read what he said because I totally 100% agree with his take about Shador and why he thinks Shador should be the guy for the Browns in Week 1. If you want to check out the article I'm writing on Dog Pound Daily, it should be out here in the next day or two. He says, if it's any way close, and it seems that it is, wouldn't you want to go with the guy that might be good, who might become better when he's out there, and also see have someone who's going to make the fans happier, who's actually a born and bred Cleveland Brown? What is What is the win in starting Deshaun Watson? Why are we doing this? He says. He may be slightly better than Shador. He was good 6 years ago. I would roll, though, with Shador. If you have a push or like a tie, go with the guy that's much younger, who has a bigger upside right now, who the fans like more, and maybe you can grow into something. I think it should be Shador. It's probably going to be Watson, though, he says. It probably won't work. Why not take a ride with Shador and see if it turns into something? Maybe you can find lightning in a bottle and the fans will go crazy. It's true. It's what we've talked about. That was from Kyle Brandt, who wrote for the NFL Network. His comments about why he thinks again Shador should be the guy, and I think realistically, I think that it's the frustrating part about being fans. And I see other people and podcasters and people locally talking about this, and you're tricking yourselves. You're convincing. It's so funny. If you were to look at all these conversations amongst local analysts and podcasters and national folks, all these people, and you start watching these things, back 2 or 3 months ago, and then you see how this thing has progressed. And what we're talking about, and you people out there that are supporting right now, Deshaun going into Week 1 and talking about seeing the writing on the wall, like I know you might object to it, but you're even seeping into all of this and agreeing with it and sharing that back out to your fans and the people that listen and read your stuff. It just feeds into this dysfunction. And that's the part that's so frustrating as a longtime Browns fan. We've seen this before, and it's just frustrating because it's not going to end well. You know that. And as a longtime fan, and when you have other fans and folks that listen and talk to you about being a Browns fan, and they're not Browns fans, and they look at you and they look at us as Browns fans, and they're like, you know, do you see what dysfunction you guys have? And we try to defend our team, and we'll continue to defend the Browns and our fandom for the team, but it really is ridiculous right now what the Browns are about ready to do with Deshaun Watson. It's absolutely absurd. You have a guy, and I already talked about this again, but I think it's worth repeating. And I know the Browns aren't listening and they could care less, but as fans, I think if you're a fan, I think you need to make sure that you let the Cleveland Browns know, and I think many of you will when you start booing. And I'm not saying I'm not supporting you booing Deshaun Watson, but at the same time, if the Browns are willing to put this guy out there and he's willing to throw interceptions and look away from wide open wide receivers and play like he's never played the game before. Look, we've talked about this before with Deshaun. This goes back the entire time he's been with Cleveland. He's seen ghosts. This guy is not right. And I don't care what he's telling you right now. You just don't lose that. Those are like traumas that stick with you. And this kid, despite how everyone's saying, well, Deshaun's, he's really firing the ball now. He seems like he really understands it more. And for God's sakes, like Steve Gill said, he's the veteran. He should be. This shouldn't even be a competition, but the fact that we're talking about it. So this is where, again, this whole dog and pony show, this whole thing has just been a farce. It hasn't ever really been real. I mean, maybe if Shador, blew everybody away, but he hasn't been able to. And it's not necessarily Shador's fault. This kid is coming into his second year, but he's getting better. So, I'm hopeful that they throw Deshaun in there for the first 3 or 4 games. And hopefully by game 4 or 5, and when the Browns are 1 win and 4 losses, the Browns will be ready and willing to let Shador play out the rest of the season. It really is disappointing as a fan of this team, a longtime fan of this team, that the Browns are willing to do this, especially on the heels of what's going to be coming up in the next 2 or 3 years when they start building this beautiful new dome stadium that they threw out there to everybody to see. Uh, they still haven't talked to us. They've talked to some season ticket holders, the ones with all the really nice, expensive seats, but they haven't talked to some of us other season ticket holders. I'd like to know more information about what that's going to look like. So the Browns have a lot of things to work with, or a lot of things to work out. They have not been clear all the time. They have frustrated the fan base, and if they're willing to do this right now, which it sounds like they're going to start the season with knucklehead Deshaun Watson starting the season based on everything that we've already seen over the last 5 or 6 years, it's troubling. And so I think Browns fans are not that optimistic. I've seen people come out and they say, well, how optimistic, how excited are you about this Brown season? I'm looking at those polls and I don't see a lot of Browns fans over the moon about this team. And that's sad. And the Browns could fix it all by just stopping this. Well, they've already done the quarterback competition and they've kind of fed into all of this. If they just went with the young kid, I know Deshaun Watson's being paid bazillions of dollars, but the Browns in the front office and the coach, they don't have the guts to basically say, we're going to run with the young kid, the kid that has the most upside. Yeah, Deshaun, we're paying you $200,000 million, but you can back up Shador this season and let Shador get in there and play. If the kid doesn't have it, he doesn't have it. But you're not going to know that until you give this kid an actual opportunity to play games, win or lose. And by the end of the season, if you think that this kid doesn't have it and you're going to be at the bottom of the bowl, you're going to be drafting at 1 or 2 or 3, and you'll get a new quarterback. This right now, it continues to seem like dysfunction. You're going in there with Deshaun, in hopes of maybe winning some games, which you're not. You start the season 2 games on the road. How many of you really honestly don't fool yourselves, think that you're going to win at Jacksonville in the opening week and then at Tampa Bay against Baker Mayfield? Speaking of old nightmares, Huey Lewis, no, Hugh Jackson, stupid ass coach from the Browns past, is out there on some other podcast prancing about how he wasn't a bad coach and he's a really good coach. And the guy was miserable. He was a horrible and such a cocky, arrogant son of a gun. So not gonna miss him very much. So he was talking about the Browns the other day in that regard. All right, so I wanted to finish with a kind of another sad sort of the situation here. So, like, guess I funny. Not I don't know if you want to think this is funny enough or not, but over there, we were driving around in Columbus. Like, if you live in this area in the Columbus, Ohio, or just live in Ohio, some of you try to avoid Ohio, but I mean, there are some really bad drivers here. There are some really, really bad drivers. I can't tell you the number of times. I just got to get this off my chest because it's very frustrating when you try to be safe. So at intersections, I don't know if you guys see this where you live in your areas, but I have seen an increase in like when people get to an intersection, they're waiting to turn before the light turns red. I see so many more people now. They get into the intersection. Okay, the rule has always been if you get into the intersection, the light starts to turn red, you turn uh, once the light starts to turn red. But now you're getting two, sometimes three cars behind the initial car in an intersection that they just decide to pull up and all go through on a green light. Oh, frustrating. Yesterday, had people at Meyer Grocery backing, almost practically backing into us because they're careless drivers and they're not paying attention. And then you get people who get angry. People just need to take a step back and not be so upset, especially when you're at a grocery store. Everybody just needs to take it easy. All right, that's my 2 cents worth. So I hope everybody has a better day than we did when we almost got hit about 3 different times because people don't know how to drive. So if you live out in the countryside, you live outside of Columbus, it's probably best, right? That's probably why you live outside of Columbus or outside of Cleveland, because you get a lot of interesting drivers all over the globe. I get it, but Columbus is pretty bad. How do you rate your drivers and where you live? All right, let me see here. We've got a few. All right. Well, folks, I am about done here. We're going to have our Fanatical Elves show later this week with Steve Gill and myself. And don't forget to catch Rod Bloom and his brother on the next Browns Blitz. And we'll be back again for another Johnny Cleveland show next week. Until next time, also remember, we will be giving out Sherry's Licorice and some other things and some giveaways as we get closer to the season and look forward to doing that. So please follow us wherever you listen to. If you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, make sure you download and subscribe. Go over to TikTok, follow us there. Go over to Instagram. You can find us there. We're at Elves Network. Okay, everybody, have a great night. Take care. Go Browns. And remember, too, that's right, keep smiling.